Hey people, this is the Broken Puppet back once again with another video just for you. This one is how to draw a dragon's head, and it's more advanced than the other dragon tutorial, and I focus just on the head, teaching you all the little tips and tricks and how to do everything on there. And so yeah, I'm sure you're gonna like that. So yeah, enjoy it. Check out my other videos if you get a chance as well, and yeah, I'll see you next time. Hey people, how to draw a dragon's face. Like I said, this one's going to be more advanced than what my other one was, and I'm going to teach you all the little things, how to change out the face, how to do different kind of, eye sections, how to add little extra details, like in the teeth, around the face, how to change up, how to give it like more attitude, playing around with like, the line widths, like thicker lines, thinner lines, and all the little key things you can do to improve these little aspects about dragon's face. Now it's going to be quite similar to this one, but I'm going to make it slightly different. You can use this one as like an idea if you want. But I'm going to talk you through everything about it. So just bear with me one sec. There we go. Next page. Right. Here we go. Right. I can go to there. And go to there. Let's get it straight. There we go. Right, I'm going to do this one quite big so you can see everything. And now with the face, you've got a whole bunch of key aspects. You've got the nose, the bridge, that's the bit going from the nose to the eyes obviously, the top of the head, horns, jaw, and back teeth section. And that, I'm going to try and talk you through each one of them. I'll start off with going to teach you the basic structure of the face. Now this one is going to be a dragon facing that way, and that, so I'm going to have kind of oval shape for the nose bit here. Do another one slightly smaller on both sides, kind of like that. So you imagine like a big egg and two smaller eggs next to each other, and that. Now you can do like a bunch of little ones coming back like this, just swirl it back. You don't want to get too much distance here. I mean, you can if you want to. This is another thing that changes up the character. A shorter nose or a longer nose will definitely change the look of the dragon dramatically. And I like mine to come roughly about the same length as the nose. See, from there to there. So from there to there, I want it to end roughly about here. And that. Now once you get here, and a big oval section, and that, another one here. This is where that jaw with the tooth's going to be. If you imagine teeth here, and that, you got the other front jaw bit, which should be here, and just do a curved line joining that circle to that circle. And I know at the moment it probably looks a bit of a mess, and it's pretty light, but just remember why I sketched in these areas. And that, so this is top of the head, front of the nose, jaw, back teeth. Here you're going to have the horns, and I'll talk you through a different kind of a couple of styles of horns, because the horns, a lot of people don't realise, just how important the horns are to a dragon. Again, just changing this alone will change the whole idea of dragon dramatically. And that, but yeah, now you got that. That is the basic structure layout of the face. Where roughly everything is going to go. To start with, we're going to start with the eyes. And now for this one, shall I go straight into pen for this? No, I'll sketch out in pencil a bit first, so you get the idea. Now what you want to do, we've got the circle, bring your line, this one, I'm going to add a little bit extra detail now. You can bring the line like this, just basic standard, and curve it round. But what I'm going to do, is I'm going to bring this back, and I'm going to bring back a curved line, like this. I'm not touching the other line, just curving. And then when I shade that in, it'll be like a nice little bit of detail. Here on the eye, I'm going to do another bit. You can bring this line straight back like this, and this will be like the eyebrow bit. If you imagine the eyeball's going to go underneath. Now you can bring it back straight if you want. I'm going to bring this, and I'm going to flick this line up a little bit. And I'm going to do another line underneath, just curving. Just so it creates a little kind of indent to the eye. You see, just a tiny little idea, but it's a little bit of, extra detail. And that. Now I'm going to add another circle bit in the middle. Then another one just off the side there. This one's just going to flick up a little bit like that. Now you'll see why, because I'm going to do the eyeball and I'm going to drag the eyebrow bit around that. Now just underneath, you want to draw a circle. You want to do this fairly big, and you don't want to change the shape of it too much. You want it like a sort of oval shape, not too circular. You can do, but I like mine more ovally. And bring another one just here, just curving a bit, because you're going to have where that centre of the bridge nose is. Bring out another little circle, another little curve bit there, and that. Now another little detail I'm going to teach you, where you got this eye, we're going to bring down a little bit underneath the eye that's going to come up. Just going to bring a line following the same kind of curve as the eye, just kind of a bit wider, curve up so it overlaps the eye, bend down, and then up down to the top. Start another line off of that line, and flick it back like that. And this makes the eye look like it's squinting, and that, so it looks kind of like he's annoyed, it's like his eyebrows down, he's being aggressive. And that. I'm going to bring another little line just up here, and I'm going to kind of mirror that other line just there, you see. And that. And now we've got the eye. On the edge of the eye, I'm going to bring like a little bit of skin, kind of, like overlapping around the eye. And that. Now to do this, I'm going to do a simple one. And now I'm going to bring a curve, and then flick another curve. And that's it, almost drawn like a 3. Imagine like that, and like that. And that sort of goes towards the middle of the eye, then goes down to the bottom. I'm just going to put in 2 of them on that side. Just makes that little bit of detail there. And that. And now the eye, you can put the eye wherever you want, but I generally like the eye to be looking at something in the picture or somewhere. So if I was doing, say, a flower or a figure up here like I did the tiger before, I'd have him looking up at the tiger. If I had something here, like a little creature or something, I'd have him looking this way. You always want the eyes to be doing something. If there's like nothing else in the picture, sometimes I like to leave them blank so it looks kind of evil. If you mention like a sort of blank white eye. And that. And now what I'm going to do, just going to bring a little line just here, just from underneath that line, just curve them back. Now I'm going to do this thanks, this is just building up that shape for that bottom jaw. And that, because you always want this tooth to come back further than the eye. Not too far back, like where I sketched it originally, it was a little bit too far away. So if you mention where the eyebrow is, come down from the eyebrow, and that line is where the tooth's going to be. And that. Now again, like you can do such a plain circle like that if you want, to bring the top edge of the tooth. But I'm going to do is I'm going to make this more jagged. I'm going to bring a line here, bring it in a bit, and I'm going to bring a line come down from the top of the tooth, going up a little bit further, and curve them back down. And that. Now this bit I'm going to go straight into pen actually, so you can see this much more clearly. And that. So what I'll do is I'll come from this side. You have a little line like that, and then you come up with a line, curve up like a little arch, curve down, and curve across just like that. And that creates a good sort of detail like base for the top of the tooth. And now you can make this tooth like really curved and nice, like smooth if you want, but I'm going to make this one again more jaggedy. So I'm going to bring the line down like that, like a little sort of slight little twist. I'm not making it straight, a few little bends, and I bring that line from the top, coming over it, curving back like that. And I'm going to bring the line coming back around, and again I'm not making it straight, I'm going to make it a little bit jaggedy, because I'm making it more like bone than tooth. Just a couple of little very light lines going down the middle. If you've got different size pens, it's always handy to have, say, 3 different sizes. And that, like this one's a 0.5. It's like a half. You've got 1s, 0.8s, 5s, and that. But generally, like a 1, a 5, and an 8 is really good. So if you've got a 0.1, they're pretty good as well because they're very small. And because if you have different size lines, it just adds so much more character to it. You can really define certain areas. Like, can use thick bold lines to bring out really key bits you want to pop out, and then really thin little detail bits, little lines which are really faint but are there. Always adds so much more character when you've got different lines, whips. So yeah, we got this bit. So what we're going to do now is add some detail around this. Now if you remember before, we just like curved it around and we done like the hair bits off the back. This is going to be much more advanced. So I'm going to bring some hair bits in random little locations, all coming out from this way. Okay, so like here, just going to do one here, one here, one here, one here, one here, all within that cheek space. You see, like if you measure that line, that cheek space, I want some hairs inside that. And just do 1 or 2, just going slightly outside that circle. And that. And now what you want to do is add little sort of I don't know how you describe it. You know, kind of like smile lines. You know, like cheek, like sort of creases in. And that. So we're going to sort of drag a line around the tooth here. Bring it in. Curve it a little bit. Curve it again. Flick it out. And we're going to keep doing a few of these around the place. Just little ones, just here and there. Just curve into a point, then curve again. Just a few little lines just off of it. So if you imagine just trying to follow that cheek shape, so it's definitely going around that way, but just little detail areas. You know, it makes such a big difference. And that. I'm just going to bring in the line around the eye so you can see that detail more clearly. One tip for a lot of people, if you're struggling getting like good straight strong lines, try pushing the pen a little bit harder than you normally would. I know a lot of people tend to be a little too light-handed. You know, sometimes putting a little bit more pressure helps you steady your hand. And that's always a really handy, helpful tip. So you can see we're slowly building up the structure of this face and making it much more detailed. And what we want to do, every now and again when you've got lines, you want to bring like a secondary line. Now what I mean by that, you see like here on the eye beat, see we had this little line coming underneath. And I'm going to bring another line, just following that exact same direction. Just underneath it, just flicking off a little bit. Just come to a stop. And I just took like here around the eye bit. Just going to bring another little one just there. Now you're going to have what I call third lines, and the third lines are going to bring in shape. I'm going to teach you that afterwards. We do that with a much thinner liner. Now what I'm going to do here, and that because I want to bring this jaw bit just a little bit forward now, where the mouth goes. And I remember you got that little line that comes up from the mouth bit going this way. Now you can do a straight line, like basic. This one I'm going to teach you a bit more advanced. Now we're going to bring in the curved bit. You're going to create a few little dips that go up and down. So you want to keep coming and just keep making these little kind of lumpy circle bits. You should just flick up and start line again. And each time we do one of these little lumpy bits, I'm going to put a little tooth just in the gap. The bigger the height you go, the bigger the tooth. Like see, I've done a little one, then a big one. And then just put a little line down the centre of it, touching the tooth, really faint, soft one. Just like that. And now what we're going to do, I'm going to bring in the hair bits stronger around this mouth now. Now all the ones you've done there were inside the cheek shape. Now I want to slowly build up that cheek shape around the outside. But keep doing what we've done before, like don't have it fully connecting. Like see here, I've done one line going up, then another line around the outside, but at no point do they touch. Now this is making it so the cheek and the hair are more one thing rather than two separate, pieces. Just bring some little hair bits in the middle, and then bring some hair bits on the outside. Now the hair bits I like to keep quite sharp. You can make them more flowing, you could have them sort of wavy if you want, more like hair. But I like mine to be sharp, to me it's like more sharp, more aggressive, more in your face. Just makes it much more impactful. So I'm going to bring a couple, and I'm going to do them all different sizes. I'm not going to do it like last time, it's not going to be the same size. We're changing up. We're going to do them small ones and big ones. And once you start to get full, you start joining them up together in that. So you sort of start doing ones in the middle. Now, but again, make the sizes all different, but generally the same sort of direction. And at this point, what I'm going to do, I'm going to make it, rather than being like one big sort of fan of hair, I'm going to break up. So one bit here comes really longer, and like up here, a bit longer as well. So it kind of goes out, in, in. Now to do that, I'm simply just going to keep building up these hairs, and just keep putting in like really kind of long ones every now and again, coming this way. Like so, just like there. And then bring in a short one. Just on this inside bit. Fade along one, put a little one there. The big one there. Now again, this just adds a bit more personality, it just makes it different. You know, it's just one way you can customize it. And now I've done that, I'm going to bring in this eyebrow bit around here. And now you want the eyebrow to have a similar vibe to this and the hair around the nose. And that because it's all the same kind of thing. And that's, so if you make this free flowing, you generally want to make the eyebrow bits free flowing and the nose bits. And this one is going to be a little bit more free flowing than this. I'm going to a bit more of a curve. So there, that line just curves around that line. And that. But generally I'm going to make it sharp to a point and then come back. Following that same concept. And just having a few around it that don't touch, that just kind of come off of it. Just like that. Now you can do this as much as you want. You could have this going right out or no, really close. I like mine to stay pretty close so it is more like an eyebrow. I'm just going to do the same thing like here. Like see this line, I just took this around up here. I took that around that little line there. So that sort of closes off the eyebrow bit. And again, just flip these lines in. A couple of loose ones here and there. Just like that. And now here, you have the back bit. And now for the back, well, I say the back, I mean the head top bit here. Bring some tracing paper so you can see, I'll show you a few different styles. And now, you've got the choice, you can either bring this back, I've done this on the side actually, and kind of curve it upwards a bit, and then come to a point, curve it back around. And now from here, you can have this kind of curving this way. You've got to remember, we're going to have it here. So you can have this bit sort of taken up. You can do that in a sec. But you can have like lines coming strongly, just layering over each other, towards that front of the head. Like that. That's one way of doing it. You can never really go wrong with that. Always looks good. And that. Or, you can have it coming out. And you can have it kind of jagged it in a bit. So you see like your hair kind of goes up, then this kind of line overlaps it. You know, this one kind of comes back. And you can have it kind of flowing into the horns, rather than actually being separate to the horns. And you can make this like much more jaggedy and harsh and add some like extra detailed lines on the inside, just flicking it in and out. Then having the horns like joined up to it. You know, that's another way you can do it. And that. You know, and you got other ways in that as well. You can do simple. You can just have it basic, like, you know, just nice and curved. You know, if you're worried about, you know, getting lost in the detail, you can always do that. And just have the horns come off of there, and that straight line down the middle. And that, I mean, you can even do this and having like kind of scale bits coming back. So if you imagine almost like a quay, and having this going out the middle, and having the horns coming off of it. You know, there's so many ways of doing it. I'm going to stick and do it, you know, the, well mind you, I think I've done this style on the last dragon, so I'll do this kind of style, I reckon. I'll have it so the horns are technically joined up to it. Now, what you want to do is just kind of sketch it with a pencil first, just be quite loose, just little flicks here and there, and get that shape going. And I'm just going to have it sort of like curving in, like see here, this line kind of curves here, and this one's going to kind of curve on top. And that. Just make it kind of bumpy and jaggedy. You know, I don't want it too smooth, you know. And that, then if you imagine that's where the line's going to kind of join up to the horn. Now the horn, I'm going to have kind of the skin kind of curving around, so I'm going to do a few little jaggedy lines kind of up and down like this, as if it's kind of curving over the horn. Kind of like that. And that. Now I want a strong line down the middle. It's going to be kind of wavy in that, but I want it to be quite prominent. It's like, you know, the centre of the headpiece. You can always use this as well to try and scale up to see whether you've gone too high with your head. See, like here, I thought that this head, you know, is okay, you know, it's quite nice, you know, it might have been worth like maybe bring this down a touch if you wanted, but I'm going to keep it like this. And that. Now the ear, here's another thing you can do so many different ways. And that, get that paper, Now you can bring back a curved line like this. You can make it perfectly straight, well, not perfectly straight, but like a big long straight line. Just bringing in one end, it comes a bit smoother, curving, line like that. You know, you can never really go wrong with that. Simple, looks nice, and that. Or you can go a bit more sort of crazy with it, like I like to do. I'm going to bring back this line, I'm going to make it kind of curvy, wave. So then I'm going to put a little twist. Now to do the twist, you bring like the curvy line, and then see how on the top you come, bring it in, up to that line. And then from the bottom of this, you carry the line inwards. And then I'm going to bring a little line here, going to put a little cut in here, just like a little line. A few little detail bits here and there, just a little curve inside the ear. You know, it can make it much more interesting, just with simple little techniques of twisting and turning. You know, every little thing just adds so much character to the dragons. I'm going to do this kind of ear, so it's much more sort of detail. Put that over there for a sec. Stay. Right, so it's going to bring back that line, just going to curve it, bend it. Like I said, just going to bring that line curved like that. I'm going to bring this line over the top, touch the line, work from the bottom, bring this line in, curve it down, bring it a little bit under the ear, and I'm going to put a little sort of sharp spike there, like a bit's kind of come out of the ear, like a little chunk, and then just bring a little detail curve sort of line in the ear, just like that. And now I've got that, I'm just going to thicken up, you know, the outside line with the pen. Now you don't have to, but I feel with dragons it's always, like, you know, with dragons or old school style or anything like that, it's always worth getting yourself, like, you know, a couple of pens. And you know, doing a pencil works really good, but you know, the pens can sometimes bring out so much more when you've got like a good sharp outline. It brings out the character a lot more sometimes. And then I still got this line here. I'm going to bring another line, like the centerpiece here, just opposite this one, looking the same kind of way. And that creates almost like a little sort of spike, you know, a little bone bit in the top of the head. And then just around that, just a few little detail lines. Now very similar to the others, I'm just bringing like a curve, bend, and then curving out again. Just kind of like that. And that's roughly how you can do the top of the heads, you know, with a bit more detail. Now here I'm just going to add a few more spikes at the bottom bit. Bring in the cheek. Just like we've done before, you know, just bring a line and then bring a few little lines underneath. So we get the basic gist of where this face is now going to go. You can see the shape of it curving that way. So you get your pencil and you just want to reinforce the strength of it. Because as George said, bit, sometimes you change direction of where it wants to go, or you know how far away something might be. So for this, I want these curves. I'm just bringing in like just curve shapes one after the other and just having that line join up. Slowly getting bigger as it gets forward. And now I can see this is as far as I really want to take the, you know, the bridge of the nose. So I need to bring this nose back a bit. See, this was originally too far ahead. And that, so with that now, I'll kind of bring this way. And I'm just basically building up that similar shape we had. So if you imagine you had like 3 eggs, you had one egg here, one egg in the middle, and that bit on the outside. And once you have that, I want to start off with the detail on the inside of the nose. Now, where this line comes and joins up here, bring up a little curve, and curve around that big nose shape, around the big egg in the middle, curve up, and curve into and back around that second egg, you see, and this creates the nostrils. You want to get a nice curve, you want to come back quite far, you know, you really want to try and show that shape of the nose. And now here, if you want, again, if I get the tracing paper you can see, you can bring this nostril just plain full circle and just bend it like that. Nothing wrong with that, looks nice, looks perfectly nice and smooth. This one I'm going to do is going to bring this line, make it a bit more sharp. Like I'm going to bring a line here, bring this line out a bit. I'm going to have like a little bit of sharp bend. I'm going to bend it inwards a bit here, just to change it up. I'm going to curve inwards. And then off of that, I'm just going to flick another line. Just another curve, just like that. I'm going to do a little detail line down the centre of that nose. See, like that. Now you see how such a small little change makes a big difference to how that nose looks. Now I'm not going to do this kind of nose for you now. So you go back to the pen, just bring that detail. Just bring that line. Stick them up. Break it inwards a bit. Curve that line around. You see that nostril was? And then mark at this line. Just going to bring this. Just bring that line down the centre of that nose. Just bring that line curving around there. Now again, you see how I made this one slightly more bent. I didn't make it a perfect circle. And that. And now I've got that, I'm just going to fill in these curves. You can make these slightly different if you want, but I always quite like to make my bridge of nose fairly basic. And I like to sort of tell that shape quite smoothly. And now off the other eye bit here, you see you've got this little gap? We need to add a little bit of cheek here. Not everyone does, but I just feel it just needs that little bit of cheek. Now to do this, you just simply just bring out a curve coming off the eye, bend it outwards, and bend it inwards, just like that. You can put a little bit of detail, like I'm just going to flick in a little bit of line there, and just there. And that'll do that bit. Now another little detail, now this is a little signature of mine, so don't you all go copying this. I put it on all my dragons. Usually I do anyway. Two little warts just on the side underneath the eye. Don't know why. You can always change it up and that. You can always put like, you know, a little sort of signature on it. Like if you wanted to, you know, instead of doing that, you could have a little stripe underneath the eye if you wanted. You could have a little line or something, or just around it, a little key shape or something. You know, you can put a little bit of detail on the nose, or try to do something that makes your dragons like a signature. You know, it's a little something no one else does. You know, and just do that on most of your sort of dragons and that. So you know, when you sort of see that, you can always say, "Yep, that's definitely my dragon." You know, when people look at my dragons, you know, a lot of people ain't even got to see my name; they just know it's mine by little signatures I do. You know, just little pieces, and I quite like that. Now, what we're going to do here? Now, if you bear me just one sec, I'll be right. I'm back. Yeah, what I'm going to teach you now is the really sharpen that up. Yeah, that'll do. Yeah. Right, basically now we're going to do this bit around the nose. Now again, as I show you some little variations we can do. And like I said, you want to keep, you know, quite similar to the eyebrows and the spikes around here. And that. So what you can do, like you can have the basic one, like if you come from underneath the nose here, just do a big line like this. And then you can just keep spiking these inwards around the nose. Come that way and that way. You know, it's a simple way of doing it, but always looks good. You can't really go wrong with it. But then you've got the other way. You can also have it spiking out the other way. Like, see how this one kind of curved downwards? You could have this one curving backwards. Like that. You know, which is always another simple way of doing it. And that, but what I quite like to do in that, you know, if I'm making this like more interesting, I like to put like 2 layers of them. And what I like to do, if I draw this big actually, so you can quite see. If you imagine you've got the nostril bit here, like the nose, the nostril come around this way. Yeah, you get the idea. That's the nostril. What I like to do is do 2 layers. But when I like to do this, I like to have them slightly different. And I like to bring them, and I like to put a twist. So you say I do this, you see this one here, I do this, what I do is when it comes up here, I bring a line around the outside, going down sharp, and then coming to a point and breaking back that way. See that nice little twist, and then I have one coming this way, and I might have it twisting a bit this way. And again, I just put, you don't have to do it on every single one of them, but I like to make them a little bit more free flowing. just going around, you know, the face initially. And then when I bring in the second layer, I make the second layer a bit harsher. Like I bring this out and I make this a bit sharper to the point. So it's similar to, you know, the back pieces. But you don't always have to have it perfectly straight. You can have like these ones sort of flown all over the place. So you kind of like that. And you do the same sort of thing on the other side. That's what I'm going to do for this one. So I'll go straight in the pencil, see it clearly. And I'm just going to bring in a line. Get this one around. A little bend. And again as well, you don't always have to make them all the same sort of length. Like here, I'm making these ones like, you know, some big, some short, some small, some a little bit more chubby. You generally want to make them so they're all kind of, in a way, I suppose you could say, related. So you all want them to have the same idea of breaking apart to a point and coming back. And that. So that's like the first layer. So now I'm going to bring in the second layer. Remember I said I'm going to make this one a lot more sharper. So you see the line coming out. Line coming there. Breaking as I get close to our nose. And I'm going to do the same similar sort of thing on the other side. So just bring in my first initial layer, fairly smaller ones. Just come around that, and then bring in my longer, more sharper ones. It's kind of like that, see? And now what you're going to do, I don't know really what to call this, but you always get these two kind of stringy bits that come off of the face. And I think in my last one I had them coming front ways, which is like always an easy way to do. This one I'm going to teach you a really nice kind of curve way. Bring in a line quite long, and then turn it quite sharply like that. See? And bring that back. And just keep making a little ziggy shape, but coming back off the face. See, so it comes down this way, when it's coming away from the face, this one. Because where I see it, you know, the way everything's going in this one, the wind is kind of blowing this way. So I'm going to have this nose bit coming back. And that. And now from here, you just want to bring a curve over the top. And slowly make this line get closer and closer. Until at the end, you come to a point. Now you see my last one, you can split this in two here if you want. You know, you could have two up here, you could have another one underneath. You don't put too many. You know, I think one or two of these is enough on each side. You know, now again, I'm just going to do the same thing on this side. Now if you see here, I've got this, and it goes here, but you see this one kind of goes against this bit, so you've got to imagine it goes underneath the face, and it's going to come up again here, and then go that way. So I'm going to sketch that in. There you go. So you see you got that sort of nice kind of flow to it going that way. And now we've got this bit done and we've got this bit. You can bring in that cheekbone bit now so it joins up. And like I said, you know, you can have it so it goes like just simple straight, so it kind of curves onto it. I like to mine have a little bit more dimension. Now to do this, what I want to go up a little bit and then come down to this. But to do this, I don't want it to just go straight like that and that. I'm going to bring in some curves. So you see here, if you imagine like the mouth bit kind of curving up a bit, and just putting a few little kind of curves underneath, kind of come up a little bit and then curve down. See, it just adds a bit more, makes it a bit more fun, a bit more interesting. And so you see here, we've got that curve we done here, another little curve underneath. Then this one went curved down a bit. Up, then we join the line underneath here, curving this way. We can put another tooth or two in that little gap. Maybe one little there. Right, so that's like, you know, the top jaw kind of done now. And now you got the bottom jaw. Now the bottom jaw is slightly different. You don't want to make this too complicated. You know, some people can do these like really crazy and make them look good. To me, generally, if you make them look too complicated, it kind of takes away the structure of the face a bit. So I like this to be quite smooth, come down this way. Now try imagine you've got, like, you know, the bottom jaw bit here. And now if you imagine where the chin bit comes here, bottom bit, you want this line to kind of go in that same direction. So it's basically connecting these two shapes together. And that. And now to do this, I'm going to start from here so you can see this bit. Now we've done this moustache bit. I want you to put the teeth in. And now you got to kind of use your own judgment for this. It's pretty hard to point it out. That depends the angle of the face. But if you imagine bring a line down from this nostril, one from this nostril, it points roughly where you need your teeth. And now I always like to do one big tooth on either side, and then work in usually about 4 teeth in the middle. You can add 6 if your teeth are a bit too far away. If you add more than 6, it kind of looks a bit weird, to be honest. You know, I never really have much luck sort of adding more than 6 in the middle. Now once you've got that, you can kind of work out where the second ones need to be, because you want them kind of inverted almost to what they are. Now, so if you imagine where they are, just try and imagine where they'd be if they was upside down or looking in the mirror almost. So just sketching the same thing, 2 teeth, 4 little curves in the middle, and that. And now you got that, you can add the shape of it. Now the shape, you basically want to come from, like, you know, where the tooth is on the side here, you want the lip curving up a bit so it goes into the teeth, and then curving around that second tooth. And that, so you kind of like go round, up, and around. Once you do that, mimic that line around the outside and make a lip. Now you don't have to join it up, you can just flick it out in the middle bit and just flip this one around here. Just like that. But you definitely want to get a lip bit around those teeth. And now the chin, I quite like to bring a line down, curve it round. So you go like that, curve around, and bring a line through the middle so it goes over that line, top in a similar shape, and kind of connecting underneath that lip. It makes it quite a sharp, bony kind of, you know, bottom jaw bit, but I like the way it looks. And then I'm going to add, you know, like a further snout around it, and, you know, all that sort of stuff. Now, I sketched this in pencil first now, because you want to sketch it out, then you want to sketch in the tongue. Now you know the sort of where the jaw is, you know roughly where you want the tongue to go, so you want the tongue to go through the middle of those teeth. And I like to mine up kind of sort of, you know, up and down and kind of curvy. And I quite like to put my snake tongues, you know, where it kind of curves into 2 separate bits. So you imagine just bring this line, going thinner, then we get to the end, split it into a V, and just make like 2 curves. Now, and once you've got that, you can just sketch those teeth and that in now. Sketch the tongue in first before you do the bottom teeth, because you can remember that goes over the top of them. I like to do a little line just down the centre of the tongue as well. Just like that. You got to remember it's slightly over to the side. You know, you want to mimic the outside line sort of shape, not the inside, because otherwise it'll look like the tongue's twisted the wrong way. And that. Then just add those bottom teeth in. And that bottom lip bit. Now you're probably only going to see like about 2 of those inside teeth, because the tongue goes over them. But you know, just draw it in that way. Don't worry about showing the other teeth. You know roughly where they should be, and that's the key thing. Even though you can't see them, it means you know the other teeth are in the right place. And now we got that lip bit on the outside. Just bring that line in towards the face, just like that. And now sort of join up that bit of the mouth to the face. Now we're going to do the same sort of thing on this side, just like that. Put a bit of line underneath. And now we've got that, we can work on how to join this. Now I like to bring out a few little curvy bits just here, and then join up this line. I'm going to have a few little breaks here and there, just like, you know, just bringing this up and just breaking that line up a little bit, making it a bit curved, but just following that line quite strictly. You know, I don't want it to bend too much off of that line shape. Now at the moment this mouth looks way kind of long, but don't worry, because once you put the hair in the bottom, it shapes it up. Now what you want, bring some of these hair bits just a little bit further along, not too far, you know, up to just before the, you know, this nose bit, just up to about there. And then once you've got this bit, I like to bring mine, you can do this anyhow, like you can make this like a beard, you know, separate into two separate beards. And that for this one I'm gonna, if you imagine just sketching like a sort of, you know, shape like this around it, you know, kind of starbursting almost, just around. And you want your hair to basically roughly flow in those directions. I like the beard to be a bit more free-flowing than the rest, but again, stick to those same kind of rules. You know, we're done with the other hair bits. You know, you want it to all be fairly similar. So I'm just going over those quick little sketch lines and just adding a bit more shape. Exactly how we've done the others. Just so it goes around that chin. Just go over the lines with pen. Now if you're making little mistakes, don't be too worried, because a lot of these lines, a lot of these bits we're not even going to see once we do the secondary and the third line and set, because a lot of it has shadow, like dark areas, which will take over a lot of these areas. But yeah, so you can see that's like the front bit of the jaw done, and that now we go back towards the back of the heads, and we're going to do the horns. Now the horns, it really comes down to the structure, the shape you want them. You could have them going out and curving in, so like this one kind of curving this way, and this one almost like a pincer if you want. And that's one way of doing them. Now another shape, the shape that I kind of prefer, is having them kind of curving upwards out of the head. You could have them curving down out of the head as well. Imagine that sort of shape. What we're going to do, I'm going to do the ones I like, where it kind of curves upwards a bit. And I'm going to break this so it kind of looks almost like antlers. You know, imagine like a deer. And that. I'm going to break this out. And now you can have these really thick or really thin. I'm going to have this one quite thin. So if you imagine, I'm going to carry this line outwards, bring it out, curve this line outwards like this to a separate point, and come back where it's pretty thin. I'm just going to keep doing like little kind of overlappy bits, just adding a bit sort of, you know, making it a bit different. So you see that one kind of comes out like that. And I'm going to bring the second part of the horn out, just in the same kind of structure, just kind of twisting it a bit, you know, overlapping little bits. And once I get in here, I'm going to change this direction up a little bit. I'm going to bring it like that, bring it down, I think. Into there. And then add the secondary one. Now you got to remember, you know, because of the shape of the heads, the direction does change quite a bit. So you see how this one was kind of this way, this one's going to be more this way. I'll bring this up a little bit if I can, so you can see it a bit more clearly. Hopefully better see all of this. And that, again, just bringing that really nice kind of curve. Bring it this way. And again, like I said, I'm just going to curve that down and bring that in. And now I've got that, I'm going to add little detail bits, like see here, just around where the head joins. And put a few little kind of overlappy little bits. We're just going to again bring curve, 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 and then some like U shapes just coming off. And this will just separate the skin from the bone. And just a few little detail line bits, which I'll do it afterwards because we still have to do all those little detail lines, which I'm going to teach you. And that, and just go over this in basic pen. Here we go, just curve it around. Just kind of like that. And I'm looking at it now, you know, so looking at it, I want to make this beard a bit stronger, so I'm going to add a few little extra spikes here and there. Just kind of like that. Now that's the basic line work for the head. Now if you want, you can add like a little extra ear bit here. I'll quickly show you how to do that. If you imagine when the ear comes on the other side, just mimic your line but going outwards. Just like that. It's a little simple thing, and that sometimes you wouldn't see it because the angle of the heads. It's up to you if you want to put that in or not. Now what I'm going to do, switch up to a slightly bigger pen. This one's a 0.8, not 0.8, 0.8. You got 1, 8, 5, and then you go into the 0 points, which are really, really super thin. Now what we're going to do here, this is a key thing for like this, the more advanced one. Now a lot of this you're going to have to use your natural eyes, you know, and try to work out where you want to thicken certain bits up. Now obviously around the outside you want the outline to be kind of thicker, and there's certain bits you want to stand out. Now if you want something to stand out, you thicken a line around it. Key example I'm going to show you first. See this bit here? I want this to stand out so it's above the skin bit below. So what I do is I go into the line smoothly and I just stick in that edge. Now this pen isn't a great deal thicker than the other pen I use, but that's what you want. You don't want a massive dramatic change just yet. So you can see by thickening that, it makes it stand above it now. Just smooth that bit out. Again, another bit I want these eyebrow bits, you know, just underneath the eyebrow, and that sort of thicken that up a bit. So just bring it around and you just fully line. Once you get to the end of the line, you just flick it so it kind of goes smooth. You know, you don't want to stop at a really hard kind of point. And that, the bottom eyeline bit, same thing. around there. Now you can see already just how much of a difference those little thick lines make. You know, it really does bring it out. Now I'm just going to go to some key areas like here. You see on the bottom of the mouth? Well, the bottom bit of the upper jaw rather. I want it to look like it is dipping a bit. So I go over that. And then once you've done that, you know, you can do this, you know, carrying the whole way through on certain key areas. But at this point you want to decide whether you want to just thicken up the lines or if you want to add the shadows at this point. And that now, I'll tell you what actually, I'll thicken up all lines and then I'll teach you shadows afterwards. And that, but what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put a thicker line just all across the outline. So going all the way around the face. So as you can see, I just put the basic bold outline all the way around the outside of the face. I mean, you can see how much that's already, bang, popping out right now. What we're going to do now is going to do the extra little bits now on the inside. And now we've done the outline. See, like here, we sort of done it around the out there. We've done the outline around these curves. Then what you want to do is carry on that thick line, and when you get that curve that comes on the inside of the face, just flick it out so it goes from thick to thin. Now, just do that on all the sort of like line bits you want to go around the outside. And just other little key areas, see like here, like around the nostril. When it's nostril, to stand above the moustache bit. And so do that. It's going to thicken that up. Bring that in. Again, this nostril bit, I want this to stand up higher than that. So just bring that line around. Done the same around the teeth here. And I'll do it just around this bit of the beard. So I want this bit of the beard to stand above the mouth. And you see how I kind of use it to make kind of different levels. Now if you wanted to go like really advanced, you could sort of have like say 2 different sets of thickness. Like, so you could have like the thickest ones for stuff on top, then slightly thicker to make ones that are slightly lower. See like here, you could have like a really thick line for the nose, slightly thinner one for the moustache. You see that's over that, but that's over that. Do you get me? And that's you get used to it. The more you do this, the more you kind of understand it. The more you get the flow of it. You know, it's very much trial and error. You know, a lot of time you might do a line, you might think, oh, I wish I hadn't done that. But it's worth doing that. You know, just do a few pictures and that, and just don't play it safe. A lot of people play it too safe. You know, draw a picture with the intention of it being scrap. You know, to me, they're the ones that always come out the best because you're willing to do things you wouldn't normally do. You know, throwing ideas like, just think, oh, I'll try this. You know, because it's not until you try something that you actually realise it might be better. So, just like here, just around this tooth, I want this tooth to really stand out. Just a bit of the shading, just like, those little lines we had, the muscle lines around the face. Just sticking a couple of them up. Just around this ear, I want this ear to stand above the head. So just go around that outline. Just like that. And now you got that, you can move on to the actual kind of secondary, what I call line shading. Now what I mean by that is we're going to make any kind of bits that make shadows. I want to make pure black. Now you can shade these out if you want, you ain't got to do this. If you want a smooth shading, this just gives it a really kind of graphic look. If I can find one of my pictures. Here. See on this one. See how here I made the black completely solid on the shading. And you see how it gives it a very kind of bold, in your face kind of look. It's one of the ones that I like to do, especially when it comes to like dragons and these kind of things. Now there's certain little key areas that you see here. You see where this nose bit goes. This is going to make a shadow. So I'm just going to bring in a line. Just draw where that shadow be. You see the shadow's going to go here. And just black this area out. Boom, shadow. Bring this line underneath. And now, this is where it does get a little bit tricky with some people, because you have to use your imagination to imagine how the shadow is going to curve over the face. So, like I know a lot of people will just carry a line here, going straight this way. But that's not how the shadow would hit this bottom part of the jaw. Now you've got to imagine this is kind of curved. And that. So as it curves in the centre, it gets closest to this bit, which means the shadow gets smaller. But as the shape kind of curves underneath, it gets smaller and further away, so the shadow kind of curves into it. So you see here, realistically this would go kind of like this. Kind of curve this way, and curve back. Shade that in, you'll see it more solid. See, that's a much more realistic shadow. Now, well, it's not exactly realistic because it's like dead on, but the angle is more realistic. And that, so yeah, you just do that in key little areas, like here, just on this tooth bit. I want this to kind of go here. Just going to shape that bit. Just a bit of this underneath, you know, the bottom jaw bit by the teeth. Now we've already thickened up a little bit, so I don't need to add too much because there wouldn't be too much shadow there, really. Just certain little bits like here where this kind of bit bumps up a bit. I want a bit more shadow. Just here where the beard bit is, these bits of beard and moustache will just make shadow on that jaw bit underneath. This is what I meant by, you know, a lot of these like lines you won't see because obviously we're shading over them. Around this nostril, with any bits. Now I always find it's easier the best to try and draw the outside of the shadow first. So you kind of draw the line where it goes, then colour it in. You tend to get a better result of where the shadow should be that way. Because rather than just bolding in black, you're sort of trying to think of where the shadow goes. Again, just like on this little bit inside of the nostril. Now, some other little bits like around the eyes, I want to make a little bit more shadow just underneath those eyes. And that. Now, you don't want to make too much, and you want to make a curve with the eye shape. Now remember, like I said, you know, because of the curve, as it gets towards the centre, the shadow is going to get smaller. So if we bring this line curving around, up, around, and curve down on that touch bit there, much more realistic kind of shadow. Inside of this ear where it overlaps. Just a little bit, just like around here and there. Just anywhere you see something where a shadow kind of should be, where it kind of goes a bit, where it overlaps it a bit. And after you've done the shadow bit that's underneath this eye bit, we also want to do the shadow that goes further onto the horns and a bit underneath. So what I'm doing, I'm going to sketch out where it might go on a horn, touch there, the shadow probably go over this entire area. Now like you'll see here, a lot of this detail we drew in you're going to lose because the shadow is going to go over it. This is where a lot of you might want to think again about doing a shadow in it. You know, sometimes people don't like to lose the detail. But to me, it just makes it that little bit extra, and that makes that bit, a little bit better. You know, it's very similar to comic book style. You know, if you imagine like comics and like, you know, mangas and animes. You know, like the shading. You know, it's not always smooth. A lot of time it's bold. But the boldness is what makes it jump out. It's what makes it impactful. And that's what makes it such a popular style. You know, if all comic books had been done like, you know, really realistically to begin with, I don't think they would have been as popular. You know, it became a style rather than just a way of drawing. You know, it gave people that freedom to make it the way they wanted to look. Just over this tongue. Now the inside of the mouth bit, this little section here, I always generally shade in. You know, even if I wasn't doing a shadow thing. You know, you can make it colour, you can make it kind of flesh tone, or, you know, put like little in detail mouth bits, but to me, traditionally, the way Dragon's always been, you just shade this bit in black. It just makes it look better. Now here's like a little tricky bit. See where this tongue goes over. You have to use your imagination to how to work out where that shadow goes. So like here, it kind of curves around the jaw, and then it goes lower and makes its way down over that little bit of beard. just little bits here, just like I see underneath this eyebrow. So where the little hair bits go. And the little hair ones are like the easiest ones to do, because you just have to basically just mimic the line out at an angle. And they just add so much little detail. Yeah, like that. And I'm just going to thicken up this line down the centre. And so you can see it now at this stage just how much that adds to it. It just makes it like bang, it's there. And that now what we're going to do is what I call the third lines. Remember I said before, in that we're going to switch to a smaller liner now. And that if you haven't got a smaller liner, just use your normal pen, but just a bit lighter. You can make your lines generally thinner, just by going a bit lighter. I can find my 0.8, 0.1. Right, now this one's much smaller. See, it's a 0.1. And that's so we've done like the main outline, 0.5, bolted up with 0.8, and now we're going to do the fine little detail lines, the third lines, with 0.1, or 0.1 rather. And now to do this first, I want you to rub out all the outline. Just grab my rubber. All that pencil mark first. It's just going to get in your way and it might confuse you over certain lines. So just to make your life easier, just rub that out. Depending on what pens you're using, you might want to give it a while before rubbing, you might end up smudging it. But I use the Unipen pens and they tend to dry pretty quick, especially on this paper. This is like just basic ebony sketchbooks and that. And here's stuff you want to buy that I use. There's a few links to a couple of websites that I find pretty good. You've got other websites out there, but those ones tend to be quite cheap. And that's so yeah. Now we got this, comes the little fine detail bits. Now again, you've got to use your imagination for this, because you want to work out kind of where the bends and creases are in certain areas. Like, see the nostril bit here. I want to create like a little crease that comes down the centre. So if you imagine a nose kind of bumps out, at this angle, but then comes back at this angle. So I want to draw this line where my two hands meet. So if you imagine down the middle, we're going to create like a nice little wiggly line. Come down on the nostril bit and flick there. See, just a nice little simple detail bit. And now you can do this in a lot of areas. Like see around here, I want to make that little line just going down the face bit here. So I'm going to make a really kind of funky little line. Just going that way. And that. And then you've got other bits you can do, which just add little bits extra in that. Just random little lines just here and there. Sometimes line don't have to be for a reason, you can just make no sense whatsoever as long as it just kind of flows with the shape. Like here, I'm just going to have a line coming up here. Just for no reason, this is going to break here. It's going to break, one down the middle, and joining that up. And a few little dots just around it. So that's like an extra little bit of detail. You can do this all the places, like see around here, just down the centre of the eyebrow. Down the centre of the eyebrow. Just around certain little bits, you can just mimic certain lines and just go around the edges. But by doing this, just adds another dimension to it, because you've got thick bold outlines, midway lines, and then you've got fine little detail lines. If you're using basic paper and using kind of markers to colour it in, it might be worth doing these lines afterwards, because these ones can tend to smudge quite a bit. If not, once you've done this, leave it a little while just to dry. You know, there's nothing more annoying than doing a picture than having your lines just blur and smudge all over the place. It will just get annoying. So I'm just putting lines just here and there. Just remember to try and follow the basic face shape. See, like here, I kind of follow the bump of the line here, and it breaks out into this bit. I'm just going to put some little curves around this lip. So you can see I'm just working with that shape rather than against it. Just there and there. Just a little bit on the teeth, just little lines all going down the middle, little flake line. You know, just really, just wherever you think, you know, a line might look good, just pull it in and just see how it looks. Don't be afraid to mess it up. Now, 'cause as soon as you've done one good line, you know next time you do it, you know roughly where a good line is to put a, you know, well, where a good place to put a line like that is. You know, don't experiment, you never learn. So again, I'm just putting a bunch of lines just coming down this horn, just have them twisting over each other. These detail lines look especially good when you do them on kind of like bony textures or like hard textures like rocks and stuff. You know, on the faces you want to be maybe a bit more smoother, unless you try and do like wrinkle effects or stuff like that. If you want this way, you can kind of do the comic book, you know, extra shades sometimes. So you know where you basically put like a cross section or just like lines. Like see, we've done this little nostril bit. It's going to lick little lines going in the same direction, just fading out. And what it does, it just creates like a little shadow that just looks pretty cool. You know, I'm sure you've seen this before, done this before. You know, it's just a very simple old school way of shading. It just adds a little bit extra detail. So I'm just going to do that in some random little places. Just like there and there and there. Just like that. So you can see, now we got that. I'll teach you some colour stuff on it now if you want. Excuse me. Crack the back. Right, twist me here. So I'll tell you what, we're just going to shade this one rather than colour. You know, if I do colour, sometimes it takes away from the idea of what you'll be learning by shading. But if you're colouring this, just colour it the same principle as what I'm shading. In the dark areas, do darker colours. In the lower areas, use a lighter colour. And by doing this, just to teach you how to do pretty much any bit around it. Now I'm going to use the light shade here, it's like some basic light grey. And when I've done those little detail lines, we're just going to put a shadow just underneath them. See, like here, just underneath that little nostril bit. And when they get to the bottom of the nose, I'm not going to touch the edge. I want to leave a little white edge just around it. And just when you get like near a line, you just want to bring it in a little bit. The further it is up here, the thinner the line and the thinner the shade. The more from the bottom up it is, the darker you want it, and the more thicker you want it. So like here, just sort of bring that around that nostril bit. So it's on the under bit. So that bit thicker. Same bit there, same bit there. Around the bit, because this bit's on the higher bit, we just do a little thin line just to show where the shadow goes. And that. Just little areas, like if you was down here, you do this bit here darker. bit of shadow just underneath there. Just generally anywhere like it kind of goes underneath what's in the bottom. Like here on this bottom bit of the jaw bit, I'm just going to bring a shadow. I'm going to bring it up to this little detail line we've done. Remember that little kind of halfway crack? Remember I said where the face kind of bends like that? We shade up to that line from the bottom up to it. Just leaving a little white edge around the bottom line of the jaw. Just look around the eye. And these little creases. Now when you want to do it inside the eye, like see this one hasn't got pupils because I don't want it particularly looking anywhere specific. And that. I'm going to create a little circle, a little white circle, so just use your grey to make a little circle, and that'll be your highlight. Then just shade around that, shade close to the line on the other side but not touching it, and just flick your shading out. And that will just give that little bit of 3Dness to the eye and make it look circular. Now all these little curves, I'm just bringing a little curve shape. A lot of times you just want to mimic what the line is, but just thicker. You know, if you're trying to work out how to sort of shade it like here, I'm just mimicking those lines, but make them a bit bolder. It's really simple, but effective. Just underneath these eyebrow bits. Once I've done this, I'm going to hit it with darker grey. But for now, I recommend you go over it lightly just first to work out where you want your shadows, and then bolster them up with your darker greys. Or if you're using colours, just start off with like a really light colour. Like if you've done this blue, did bits in blue, really light blue. And then once you've done that, you can sort of look at it and think, alright, I think a bit darker blue would be good here. Or a bit darker blue would be good there. So just remember, wherever I go darker with this is where you want to go darker with the colours. So just all around this bottom area. See how I just bring it close to the line. So I mean, sometimes you want to bring it up to the line, sometimes you don't want to. Like around this bit here, I just pull this bit up to the line. Next, the way I see it at the back, you're not going to get much highlight because it's behind the head. So there's really no need to have to worry about that. The way I see it, and I see, if you imagine there's a light coming from the top here, which is getting us all this basic shading, but if you imagine a little light from the bottom, that just picks off all the little edges. And they're the ones you want to leave light. Just flick some into that beard. Just cut around that chin. So you can see that's all like the basic grey. Now I'm just going to grab me a slightly darker grey. See how dark this one is. Yeah, that'll do. And I'm just going to bolster up those bits. Now to do this, when I actually sort of shade up to like a certain line, see like here that little detail line? I put that grey on that line, and then work to the bottom, and make the inside bit a little bit lighter. So in other words, I basically darkened up all the outside. If you're not working up to a line, just work from the bottom, like here. See, I didn't go up to no detail line bit here, so I just shade the bottom area. Just make that darker. Now I'm going into this pretty quick, so there might be a few little areas that might bleed a touch. Then kind of blurs out a bit. That's why I said sometimes you may want to leave it a bit. Usually I'm pretty lucky because if you work quick with the pens, you don't get it. That's why I tend to flick it in pretty quick. And that, you know, you don't want to rush it. You don't want to just go kind of crazy with the pens. But you want to just basically just try to slowly just keep little flicks where you're going. Rather than putting the solid, just flick it in. Again, like I said, just darken up all those little bits that are just a slight bit lower. Now again here, like see where they went up to that little detail line? So I'm going to put this dark grey on that detail line and then work up from the bottom. So I'm basically shading up the edges of the old shading. Just everywhere I go, just everywhere there's that little inside line, I'm just going over it. So you can see how that face is really starting to come out now. Now some areas you may want to leave very light, like see this tooth? I want to leave this tooth almost pure white, with just a tiny touch, harsh shade, just drew that in there. Other than that, I want that tooth to be nice and bright. You know, those are little bits that sometimes break the rules, but sometimes it's worth breaking the rules because it just looks good. So don't always feel you have to stick exactly to the rules. Just look at something and sometimes you just get a little bit of inspiration. Just think, yeah, I'll try that. You know, if I just leave that and make the rest this way, maybe it'll look good. There's no harm doing that, because if you do that and then it doesn't look good, you can just go back over and just add more shading or colour. You know, there's a bit you're not too worried about. Come back to it. I don't want to put too much shading in the eyes. I like my eyes to be fairly light. So I just put a touch of dark grey on the sides. If you find you make your eyes too dark, sometimes it's worth going a bit darker around the outside of the eye. You know, a lot of time you can brighten up something that's even dark if you just simply brighten up, you know, darken up the outside. Because the wherever it is you go around the outside of will look bright on the inside if the outside is darker. So as you can see, almost got all this shading done now. Just a little bit of grey, just going around the edge, that top bit, but not touching the edge. With these bits I tend to put like a shade just dead through the centre. Just fading out as I go along. Kind of like that. And just a little bit there, 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 and there. And voila, there you go. That is how to draw a dragon's head. A bit more advanced and a bit more detailed than the other one. And that, now I will do a separate tutorial, like a basic one, teaching how to do scales, because I know a lot of you guys have trouble with scales. And that, so I'll teach you a few techniques on how to do that in a quick tip tutorial. But when it comes to dragons, this is like the main bit of detail, the face. And the rest of it can be quite basic once you get the hang of it. But yeah, hope you enjoyed that. And any questions, any sort of extras, anything else you want to learn, just let me know. And that, yeah, if you want to know where to get any equipment I use, just check out my description. There's a few links to a few websites. You've got like Jackson Art and stuff, which is pretty good. And that, if you're using the pens I use like this, and that trio markers, they can be expensive initially, but I know on Jackson Art and a few other websites, there's a few places where you can get the refills, that the cartridges in the middle, and that for £1 each. Now there's only a few websites you can get that from. Now it's the cheapest I've found. Usually you pay like a couple more quid for it. I'm not sure what it is in dollars. I know in English that's £1 English. And that's yeah, like I said, that's the cheapest you can get. And that's, I mean, usually a set of 12 will cost you like, you know, easy like 30 plus quid. Go from there, you get like 30 cartridges, which is like basically getting 30 pens once you got the basic pen for like half price almost. So yeah, check that out. And that'll be it. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you stick around, check out some other tutorials, and I will see you next time. Peace out.